Hi, my name's Mitigate, and I've been following DSP the Guy for quite some time. I don't make content about the guy unless YouTube comments count, but I'm sick and I'm stuck at home and I feel absolutely miserable. In fact, this is day 2 and I feel even worse than I did yesterday. And what can make me feel even worse than how I currently feel? Watching the guy. So let's check in on see what the guy's up to. Okay, already bored.
Episode of the level.
And we went too far.
And this is the first episode of
I wonder if that was Raw Phil or if that was DSP's mic.
And we've got a fireworks show going on. I hope that you're excited for 2025. I am. I want to talk today about the year that was. What actually went down in 2024? Because let me tell you.
So not only did we get a recap schedule or a recap session yesterday, but we're getting another recap session today. Look forward to it.
It's going to be a really fun, reminiscing episode. Plus, some exciting announcements and new stuff on the horizon. We've got big updates and positive, big improvements. Let's talk about all of it here on the very first episode of 2025 of the Level 1 Podcast.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm Darkside Phil.
What's the point of doing the cold open? Like, real talk. Like, he's just gonna say everything that he just said before he ran his second intro. So, what's the point? Well, I know what the point is. The point is to waste time.
This is the Level 1 Podcast, here live on DSP Gaming or on DSP Gaming Reel, respectively on YouTube and Kick. And welcome to the fireworks show. It is a new year. Everything has reset. The set has reset. The animations have reset. The attitude has remained positive. Everything right now is going well. And I'm excited for a whole...
Everything is incredibly positive and everything's going incredibly well for the guy. Don't forget it.
Whole new year of content with you. Thank you for the year that was of 2024. It was an amazing year. It was a fun year. It was a great year. Although, admittedly, it started off slow and wasn't living so.
And we're still getting...
Trying to get it open here live. Where?
Retrospective session.
It's literally not there.
This is all shit he said yesterday and in the daily wrap. So he said it all in the pre-stream podcast, and then he said it again in the daily wrap. And now he's saying it again for his podcast for January 1st.
You want to talk about improvement? Here is me.
Okay, like, we got to stop here for a second. So again, this is another great, like, smug DSP situation type deal. So, like, looking at these 4 panels, like, the guy here, he very shortly, he is almost certainly going to tell us, like, how much better we are here than we are. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm still really sick. So the guy here, look, he's going to tell us how awesome and great this current day setup is, like how awesome modern Phil is and how bad these were, right? I'm really looking forward to it. Let's see what our boy Dave has to say
on this show over the last 4 years and how dramatically different things are.
Dramatically different.
In 2022, it was the dark ages. It looked like basically, there was no real light in the room. It was probably like sunlight coming through my blind.
There isn't really. Okay, I should let him get it out.
Blurry webcam that was a decade old. I had a background that was consistent of a bunch of boxes of consoles that everyone made fun of me for. I was still wearing gaming t-shirts constantly, the likes of which I had for about 10 years. And yeah, it was pretty much, me being outdated. And that's honestly kind of how I was known.
He's so slow.
For a very, very long time. In 2023, I started with some improvements. I decided to actually try to have a background on my show that would be somewhat visually appealing, as you can see back.
All right, so none of this is new information, but I think we got the gist. Like, he's probably going to tell us, like, how great 2025 is.
But there was a webcam upgrade that allowed the visuals to be better and have better, really revamped and different, a popping background with games all day. But now things are very different, right? And that's a good thing. Change is good as long as it's positive improvement. And there have been.
Okay, so he's just talking bullshit like normal, but looking at these, there isn't a huge difference in these 4 panels, right? Obviously, this to 2025 is much better, like, it's much better lit, right? Like, there's reasonably good color temperature, and there's just more light in the right places. And I hate to say, and believe you me, how much I hate to say this, having the white panels to kind of bounce back some of the light actually probably helps him. but he still just has junk around him. Like we traded out the white tablecloth for a white Philomania t-shirt, and he just has bullshit stacked behind him. I mean, we got rid of like the black turd toilet ring box, which is an improvement, but like he's just went on about how awesome this new setup is, and it really like very minimally different. Like this setup would look so much better if he just took the shit out of the background. Like he's so obsessed with having a bunch of stuff going on in his quote unquote set. He's kind of losing the forest for the trees.
Quite a lot of positive improvements over the last several years. I'm very happy for that. Thank you all. You're the ones who got me here to this level, and thank you for your patience. Now it's time to enjoy all of the fruits of the labor, as they say. All that hard work and dedication and sticking with it and putting up with the abuse that I got so many years is now paying off.
Oh, woe is me.
Right, so amazing. So
all the abuse DSP has endured.
Funny, Skinny Pete says you can see your stubble getting whiter throughout the years. That's what happens as you get older. You actually start to have, gray or white or silver hair. It's a natural thing that humans have, So let's take a look, shall we? Take a look behind me. What we have here is a completely...
Here we got another LARPER comment in the chat. AMS, I'd venture to say that your troubleshooting skills have upgraded exponentially this year too. All the problems you've had to work through setting it up, you're getting faster with new stuff. The man's 42 years old. Like if he had problem solving skills, he would have developed them by now, and he just doesn't.
Streamlined background. As you can see, no 8-bit art. And you might say, well, why not? The 8-bit art's really nice looking. You've been using it for like 2 years straight. What happened? Well, as you can see, my background is crazy good now. If we're talking this very, very nice to look at soundproofing Elgato foam, or the crazy amount of like lights and things that I have now. You want to see the background, don't you? So obviously, if I have a bunch of 8-bit art up, you can't see what I set up. Why would I spend all this time and money setting up this display if you can't see it? So obviously, I was like, you know what?
Okay, so he just... This is wild. Like the cognitive dissonance that I'm experiencing, like listening to DSP talk about his background right now, is astounding, right? Like, sorry about that. He's apparently someone had asked him why he doesn't have 8-bit art in his setup anymore, and DSP's response is that, well, you want to see the background. And it's like, my guy, like, if it's in the background, then that is the background. Is it because you want to show off the really like fancy Elgato soundproofing panels that you bought? Like, is that what it is? Like, again, he's really missing the forest for the trees here. And also the whole, you want to see the background, right? It's like, well, you chroma key it out when like you use the AI background removal tool whenever you're playing. So like we only get to see this for a couple hours a day, and it really doesn't have that big of an impact on your content.
Definitely for January, we have to do minimalist. Let's do a minimalist background so that you can see the wall, you can see the light show. Every day will be a different kind of light style here on the show.
This is a minimalist background with a light show.
I'm sure many of you probably
just let that sink in.
Show last night, right? That's cool. I saw some of it with my wife. We were watching some of the Seattle fireworks that they do at the Space Needle, and we could hear them.
Like this is absolutely like seizure inducing.
We really do much because my wife had to go to sleep because she had to work early this morning, which is right now. So it is what it is. We didn't really want to celebrate, but at least we got to hear some fireworks. So in the background, we've got the Pac-Man Ghost now with my crown on. Oh
my God. And we have to talk about what's in the background.
Portal gun replica, and it was expensive. It was like $400. Well, funny story. Way back in the day, I used to buy all of my video games from GameStop. That's right. The retail video game chain. Pretty much every Tuesday morning.
And now we're getting another history lesson. Because like that's the thing is, I said in the last stream that this guy is like the only guy whose content, 90% of his content is about the content. It's either about what happened in the content previously, or what is happening in the content in the future, or what is happening in the content now, right? 90% of what this guy has to say is about what he has done or plans to do. And so like the dude lives in the past. He doesn't have anything going on. So that's why we get all these history lessons, is because nothing ever happens to this guy that's actually interesting, because he lives in this room and he talks to a camera and has to deal with LARPers on the internet 6 days a week.
I had it in storage. I had it in my closet here. Finally, I'm like, oh, it's time to bring it out. Let's actually have it on display, which is really neat. So I opened it up and it actually has batteries. Like, oh, you got to put batteries in this thing? What does it do? So I put in the 3 AA batteries. I screw it together.
And we're still talking about the background knickknacks.
I literally never used it, and it's dead. Videos to find it. In this regard, so yeah, it's cool.
And I don't care enough to rewind to find out if what I think happened, but it sounds like DSP had something in his closet for like a decade. I'm guessing it's the fucking lamp here that had batteries in it, and he just got done saying how he had to replace the batteries even though he never used it, because the man doesn't understand that batteries have a limited shelf life. And so he's complaining about that on stream, and he's so dumb that he doesn't realize that having this complaint shows how dumb he is.
Well, at least for the set, I wish it worked. It would be nice if it would be glowing like orange or blue right now, like I think it was supposed to, but it doesn't seem to work. On my left, the game over sign, and of course,
Oh my god, we're still talking about it.
I don't know why it busted itself or just wasn't well fired to begin with. Who knows, right? So good stuff there, and I'm excited. Now, also, all of the animations have now been changed around to new animations. Now, when I say new, they're all existing animations that you've seen.
And now we're talking about animations for the content. Again, like 90% of the guy's content is about the content. No one else does this because it's stupid.
I got ones of me looking like the characters from Shredder, a sub or a gifted sub over on Kick, or whether you're tipping.
And now we're bigging.
Applies to everything. You'll see a different style of animation for every level, you know, and that's really cool. And now we've got the variety going. Sadly, the holidays are over, and it is a sad time when Christmas ends. You know, the Christmas season. It's a good season. I love it. It's my favorite time of the year, but it's time to move forward positively. All right.
This is like the second or third time he said move forward positively since the stream started.
But I would like to tell you about some of the awesome stuff that's coming up relatively very quickly in 2025. Okay, first off,
and now we're back to another schedule segment.
Series are coming. I have to now begin work on them. The good news is the set is done. The studio is upgraded. I'm not doing any more technical nonsense. I'm done with this.
Thank
it is what it is, and we're
God.
positively with all the new stuff. Okay, now that I'm done tackling upgrades and technical stuff every day, I can work on the year-end series. All right. So what are the year-end series? Number one, the most disappointing games of the year countdown, where I go through the games that I feel were disappointing to me. To clarify, because I have to do this every year, this is not the worst games of the year countdown. All right, I'm not going out of my way to find the worst.
Okay, I have to stop because I feel like a sneeze coming on, and I'm like trying to not sneeze into my mic, and it's not coming. So I'm just gonna hit it with a preemptive nose blow, you guys. Okay, so what I miss here, I know nothing, but we need the can text
of all of those animations and kind of put it together as a, you know, an amalgamation. So now, no matter how you contribute, whether it's a super chat or a super sticker here on YouTube, whether it's
okay, yep. So the bag,
PayPal, which obviously applies to everything.
You'll see a different he says this like 6 times, 8 times, 10 times a day. No one who watches you, like as ironically or unironically, isn't aware of all of the ways that you are willing to take their money.
I don't have concrete details set yet, but I would like to tell you about some of the awesome stuff that's coming up relatively very quickly in 2025. Okay, first off, as I already told you guys, my year-end series are coming. I have to now begin work on them. The good news is
year-end series.
The studio is upgraded. I'm not doing any more technical nonsense. I'm done with this.
Right, no more technical nonsense.
Okay. Now that I'm done tackling upgrades and technical stuff every day, I can work on the year-end series. All right. So what are the year-end series? Number one, the most disappointing games of the year countdown, where I go through the games that I feel were disappointing to me. To clarify, because I have to do this every year, this is not the worst games of the year countdown. All right, I'm not going out of my way to find the worst games of the year.
I don't care about the guy's opinion on games.
Probably can think of in your heads a couple games this last year. So this is going to be exciting, and I hope that you guys are excited for that. And that's going to be coming very soon. And then in addition to that, there's the other countdown, my Game of the Year awards, where basically I go through my games that I feel were the best games of the year, and I rank them, and then you get to find out what was my favorite game of 2024.
It's really cute that the guy who likes to bitch about like the actual video game awards has his own like award. I hesitate to use the word show, but like ranks that he gives out once the year is over. If you recall, like he went on that big rant about how none of the games released in December were eligible for like one of the award shows because the award show was happening in December. And you know, the games that come out in December of this year are eligible for the game show next year. Like it was really dented.
I can't stream. So the question is, do you want me to take time off from streaming? Like several nights, it would probably be at least 2 nights off from streaming to sit down and work on those countdowns and have edited offline videos? Or would you prefer if I just live streamed it like I've done for years? That's the question, okay? And I'd like to hear your opinions on it, all right?
So not only is DSP digging into his eyes again, but this is interesting because he's asking his audience if they want offline edited videos. Are we talking like the old DSP, like the old DSP videos with like the fake announcer voice that he used to do? Because like, if I recall, like the whole, like he always complained about how much work it was to edit those. And so he's giving his audience the choice of whether they want these quote unquote edited videos or if they want them live streamed like he always does. And I can't help imagine that DSP's like offline video is going to be basically what I'm doing now, is pretending that he's streaming but not having a live audience to talk to when he does it. Like, I really doubt that he's actually going to do any editing.
I'm curious what your thoughts are, right? So, and here's the thing, immediately already, I see that there's people who have mixed opinions on it. See,
and this is, like I said yesterday, like, the guy is incapable of making any decisions for himself.
My on-demand videos, do they get views? Yes. Did they bring
Like, he always constantly asks for feedback and guidance on everything that he does. And again, it's because he's surrendered any agency that he has when it comes to his like life. Because if he didn't make the decision, then when something doesn't go right, he can blame other people for it not working out, right? He can say, I did what you told me, and now you're not giving me money. And that gives, like, you know, that gives him a way to escape the blame. But it's like, well, you know, typically if someone gives you advice and you follow that advice, right? This is a great example, is like when you're driving, at least in the States, right? We have like right of way when driving. And if I have the right of way and I yield to someone who doesn't have the right of way, I like motion them through. I'm like, you know, if they're trying to make a left turn and I'm, you know, I have the right of way and I motion them through so that they can make the left turn, I'm giving them my right of way. I am not liable if they choose to make that left-hand turn and cause an accident with someone else, right? Because because when someone gives you advice or direction, it is still up to you to evaluate that advice or direction and then decide if it's something worth implementing, right? I don't want to get too dark, but the whole like just following orders thing, there's a reason why like that excuse doesn't hold weight like legally, right? Is because even in a system where you're really not supposed to think about the orders that you've been, you know, asked to carry out, you still have some personal culpability if those things were not, you know, if those things were illegal and wrong to do.
And then guess what? Doesn't get a lot of views. I would even tell you, I feel like even if I worked hard on this, you know, year-end series, and
guy has no idea what hard work is.
And one is, you know, Game of the Year awards.
DSP equates spending a lot of time doing something with working hard. And a good example of this is when he talks about uploading his videos, right? He'd be like, oh, I had to upload my videos and then I have to sit there and babysit them while they upload on my shitty internet. And it's like, well, what are you doing while they're uploading? Like, you're just sitting there, you know, pulling JPEGs on your phone, giving your money to Scopely. Like, that's not work, right? Like, and if you were at like a real job and that was like one of your job responsibilities was to upload these files and make sure that they were uploaded properly, like, odds are your employer would be like, hey, you need to be productive while you're waiting on this, right? You should find something else productive to do. So rather than play on your phone while these videos are uploading, right? Does that make sense? But like DSP doesn't see it that way. He's like, oh, I spend 10 to 12 hours a day in my office. And it's like, well, bro, you spend maybe 6 hours a day actually delivering the product that you want people to pay you for. And all the rest of it is you just wasting time. And that doesn't include like things like the podcast where 90% of it is fluff.
View video on YouTube makes you around $5 in ad revenue. So is it worth me taking several nights off to edit and work on these videos to then release them and make $5 each? I think you can see.
Do you think maybe this is DSP trying to like,
no, really, I did.
Trying to like convince his audience to give him more time off, but still pay him the same amount of money that he's getting now?
Fell away a long time ago because YouTube dropped the ball. YouTube screwed their own business up. They lost their major ad revenue, advertisers.
Yeah, and just coughed my lungs out again.
Had to change for the better, and I did. So I think I will do it as a live streaming series this year. Now, I'm not saying that long term I won't try to change things to a little different. In fact, to be honest, I would like to start.
Sorry, I'm still really snotty. I gotta blow my nose again. So DSP just got done saying that he's gonna live stream it because it's not worth his, like, he doesn't make enough money. If he were to just edit the videos offline, he wouldn't make enough video from ads, right? And so, like, what have we been doing for the past 5 minutes? Like, why are we talking about this, right? You asked your audience for feedback, and then you said that opinions were mixed, and I can't be fucked to read his chat too hard, but like, I didn't see anyone that was like, oh, you should do an offline or online. And so then he goes through this big discussion about like the pros and cons of doing that. And then he's just like, I'm not going to make enough money if I take that time off of streaming. So I'm going to just stream it like I've always done for the past X years. And what was the point of all this? Why are we talking about it other than to waste time and pad out the podcast?
Content. As I told you, one of the things I would like to do is start editing the daily highlights here on the channel. Now, I haven't done a daily highlight in several days because I've been so busy with other things. Like I had to get this background.
Oh yeah, he's so busy. See, doing the daily highlights, that's something you could do while you're sitting at your computer uploading your videos instead of pulling Hogan's.
Like let's say I'm doing content or DSP Reacts, whether it's the Politics Show or DSP Tries It or something else that's coming up that we're going to talk about in a sec, then I can basically work on that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm thinking about it and let's see what happens, all right? But I want to get better at editing again. I want to be able to jump into DaVinci Resolve and just pop out a video within like half an hour. That's a pretty decent video. So let's see how it goes, all right? But for now, yes, your end series will be live streamed. And you might say, well, when will they be live streamed? Well, I was thinking of doing it probably smack dab in the middle of next week. But something else has happened. Not aware.
So we're still talking about the schedule.
To Netflix next Monday, January 6th. Their big premiere show. It's the one everyone will be watching and talking about. They're moving to this new company, you know, and the production values are going to change and all kinds of big things shuffling up. If you're not aware, I've been in discussions with Ashton from Kino Casino about doing a pro wrestling commentary show.
Oh my God.
We're now talking about it actively, and we are likely going to start doing the show.
I was watching ALT earlier today. I guess at some point,
relaunch of Monday
on Monday. It must have been over one of the parts I skipped yesterday, but I guess he said something about how like, you know, he's working on this with the Kino Casino folks, and Ashton he said something like, yeah, I can't hold Phil's hand through this because he's so useless. ALT had pulled up a clip, and it's really funny to me that there's no way that Phil knows that he had said that, and now he's talking about how it's this big project that he's got coming down the pipe. And so like, instead of just doing it and then just being like, hey guys, next week we're watching WWE, brother, and like, you know, like hyping up his audience, he's talking about, this is something that I'm planning to do. I don't know when it's going to happen, but like, you know, so I'm going to tell you all the hoops I have to jump through in order to make this thing happen. And that's like not how you're supposed to go about doing stuff, because it really just takes the wind out of your sails. But again, the guy has he has nothing going on in his life, so any detail that, like, any little thing that happens to him is something that he feels inclined to talk about.
I will let you know when we have figured stuff out, okay? So if you like pro wrestling, and you know I have been out of the loop of pro wrestling since 2020, so 4 years, I have not been paying attention to pro wrestling for the first time in 4.
And you know, he's talking about how he hasn't been paying attention to pro wrestling, but like, we know from one of like the videos that John made, or an interview that John was on, like he said something about like, you know, he asked DSP if he wanted to do like a Smart Guys episode. It came up again, like DSP's ancient co-show he did with Rambo about like the whole, you know, the whole wrestling stuff. And Phil apparently said something akin to like, oh, I stopped watching that. But like, if you want to do a show, just let me know and I can start preparing. And John was like, wait a minute. So I thought you were a fan. Like, are you not a fan? I thought this was like a thing that we shared, but from where John was sitting, and, you know, as I think for us as detractors, it's really easy to see this, that it's like, well, he was only keeping up with wrestling because he could monetize the content. And when he had lost the ability to monetize the content because he like moved out of the state, and like him and John and DSP's relationship was starting to crumble, like he just stopped doing it because there wasn't any money in it for him.
Freaking years, I'm actually going to start paying attention to it again and giving you my honest opinions about it, okay? Now, I don't know how it's going to go. Now, here's what I mean by that. I have no concept. How many people are going to show up? How many people are going to watch? How many people are going to support? No idea.
Oh, wow. Something's going to happen in the future, and we don't know how it's going to turn out.
No one cares about. I would hope it's the former and not the latter. But you don't know till you try something new, right? And I mean, it's 2025. Let's try some new stuff. Okay, so.
And this is like the preparatory, like if this doesn't work out, like this is the front load. Like I am so smart and intelligent that if this doesn't work out, it'll be really easy for me to like after the fact be like, I was afraid it wasn't going to work out. I told you guys I was afraid it wasn't going to work out. But it's also like a really sneaky way to be like, you need to show up to my shit. Otherwise, like, you know, otherwise I'm not going to be successful. Do you want me to be successful, right? Like this is like a really sneaky way to like guilt people into like watching his stuff that they wouldn't necessarily go out of their way to watch him the first time.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was one of my best.
And we're back to begging.
Long time. Last night during the Street Fighter 6 stream, we raised 4 goals in one stream. 4, and that was gifted memberships, gifted subs, and tips. It was all 3 things.
Wow, and we're getting the whole, like, these are the ways that people gave me money.
Whoa, what? People were actually like typing it in my comments. Wow, it's been months, and all of a sudden I got a gifted membership last night. Thanks so much. Yeah, as you know, I did kind of have a big downgrade, sadly, when it comes to the amount of members and subs and things that I've had. And last night, boom, giant amounts of generosity.
Wow, why was that, Phil?
Got new gifted memberships or subs. So enjoy them if you got them. Now, because we hit 4 goals, ladies and gentlemen, we're at 39. You realize we're only 1 goal away from locking in to a new DSP Tries It. So what is the DSP Tries It? I revealed this to you a couple days ago. There's a new restaurant.
These goals are so dented.
1 block away from me. And it's a Mexican place that's kind of fast foody, but not. It's called California Burrito and Taco Shop.
And it really hurts my heart to know that this guy got like $600 in one day, right? Because he said he had 4 goals hit in one day. That's insane.
Why not? For an awesome DSP Tries It, I try this brand spanking new restaurant on the day they open. All right? Now, the only thing is,
like, it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to understand how, because like a big part of me doesn't feel like his biggest whales are like actual true fans, because they're, I don't know. It's just this feeling I have, right? I have this, like, I feel like certainly not all of DSP's whales are honest, true, genuine fans. So like, what's the motivation to give him this much money? And even if you are an honest, true, genuine fan, like, isn't it kind of insane to just be like, oh, I think I'm just going to give this random guy on the internet $200 today? Like, what for?
Right? I mean, it's their opening day. Maybe they won't want to do delivery because they're afraid they're going to have too many orders. So perhaps I might have to drive over there that day. All right, we'll see. I got to take a look.
All right, and now we're anxious about not getting DoorDash.
Do this on Friday as the new DSP Tries It. We are literally 1 goal away. So as soon as we hit $150 on a stream, we have locked in. And then, folks, this is the exciting thing. Now we have to start talking about goal 50, because if you're not aware, goal 50 is a huge milestone. When we hit 50 goals hit.
Oh my God. Like, these goal talks are just like begging segments in disguise. And again, the content is about the content.
Rangeathon, a Donathron, a marathon where you play a game you want and donate a 1-to-1 to a charity of choice for every new membership. What? I'm not doing a charity stream. It's not a charity thing.
No, the only charity is DSP. DSP needs all of your money and then some. He's not giving money to charity.
Well, again, this is supposed to be a gaming marathon all day. This is not going to be that kind of an event, but I may do that in the future too. Okay, play Dino Crisis. That's an interesting idea. I could play Dino Crisis all day. I could literally, since people have wanted Dino Crisis for so many years and I never could make it happen. Okay, I could just play Dino Crisis all day long and make giant headway into the playthrough. How cool could that be? I'd totally be okay with that. What about a Street Fighter Bonanza? We play through each Street Fighter single player in order, maybe do some online if the lobbies are online. I have done that already. Like when that old Street Fighter collection came out many years ago, I played through all the games in that collection. So I'm not honestly sure how I would make that happen. If it would feel more like a repeat. I do like the idea of playing through a series.
It's times like these I wish that YouTube had the option to go faster than 2 times playback.
No, it's not a panel show. We're talking about a marathon. What a marathon, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Well, I played it once before. If you remember, I played Ocarina.
Like, I'm sure there's a browser extension I could get, but like just to be able to like bumper up to 5 times speed would just make my life so much better.
Then can you get it digitally on your Switch? So it would be more of a issue of what's the accessibility of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I guess.
And this dude's talking about game accessibility when he owns like literally every console that's ever been made.
That's true. I have played indie games a good amount recently.
But like he's so lazy, he won't like because he's allegedly the king of retro. Like, it would be actually really on brand for him to have like a retro gaming marathon as one of his goals. And like, I feel like you could, it would be really cool to like, part of the show could be showing off the retro hardware. Like, I don't know what the age range of like his audience is, but like, I feel like odds are good that there's people who like may have never seen an SNES in real life and never had the opportunity to play one, right? And if he has like all or most of this hardware, it shouldn't be that hard for him to just like pull it out and like get it working and plug it in. But it is a non-zero, it does require a non-zero amount of effort, like more effort than like going to the store and then buying a digital download. And so he'll never do it.
I have a gaming PC now and I play anything. So I'm sure you guys could probably nominate a ton of games I've never even heard of that would piss me off, right? Retro, dude, I'm always down for retro games. And ever since I launched DSP Throwback last year, a lot of people have asked me, hey, Phil, are you ever going to play retro games? Play Throwback game. An opportunity to start with that, right? The PC idea is great too. Like other PC games that maybe I've never touched. That I could do.
And I got to blow my nose again.
I know how big of an audience I have for PC exclusive gaming because I've never been a PC exclusive gamer in my entire time being on YouTube. So now to do a stream like that, I don't know how viable that would be and how much people would like it. I think the Dino Crisis Marathon, I think some people would absolutely love the Dino Crisis Marathon. Okay, I really believe that. But I don't know if the Dino Crisis Marathon would work for a good amount of people to attend the marathon and support it. What do you think? Do you think people would show up for a Dino Crisis Marathon and support the marathon? Because it's just, when I do these marathons, essentially it's the same as a normal day.
And so now we have a really common DSP thing where he's talking about something he could potentially do in the future, and then he has to remind his audience that if he, whatever it is that he does, you're gonna have to pay him for it. Like, don't forget, like, we can do whatever you want to do as long as you promise to pay me for it.
But this is a one-time thing. It's not like we have to do 8-hour increments of this game moving forward. The first session is 8 hours, and then normal streams after finish the playthrough.
How much more of this do we got? We suffering. Suffer.
What do you guys think? All right, so how about this? We really need to start talking about this.
Okay, it looks like we're coming up on the end of the podcast.
In about a week, we'll probably hit 50. So we may be doing this marathon by mid-January, which I'm happy for. By the way, I'm excited. Thank you all. You guys have supported me so much in the last several weeks. When we relaunched the whole idea of goals not being streaks, but instead just hit a goal, add one to the count, do incremental rewards, a lot of people were skeptical. Can we now collectively agree this is working well? This is working really well.
And we're talking about money again.
Pressure every single stream to be hitting the goal, but then some streams we can have an abundance of generosity, and it all counts towards rewards, and people are very happy with that. People are happy to know that when they contribute, it's all.
See, this is so dented. Like he.
How awesome is that, right?
It's really weird to me that apparently he's still like achieving enough goals in a meaningful fashion here when there isn't that time pressure to like, you know, that every day we got to get this much money, right? Like, because I feel like that's like the one thing that like really gets people to contribute to him over and over again is, oh, we can't let the streak die, right? And if the streak dies, then we don't get the reward. So.
Thank you. We have one more goal. We lock into this DSP Tries It for Friday. So let's do that as soon as possible.
And we're talking about the DSP Tries It again.
Doesn't mean we don't get a DSP Tries It. We do. When we hit milestone 50, you're getting a marathon and a DSP Tries It live during said marathon. You get a double reward when we hit 50.
Wow, Groove, 2 rewards, and then a little weak limp-wristed clap.
Restaurant likely on Friday. Okay. Cool. So we got to figure this out. What do you want to do? Let's talk about it. We got what other options do we have? And obviously we can't do everything in one day. We'll probably maybe tackle some of this stuff tomorrow. Okay.
Give me feedback. I need feedback.
Let's actually get to some shout outs. A couple contributions have come in. Let's get that momentum rolling today.
And shout outs.
Ever since I went to Windows 11, the way that things work is different, and I really don't understand it. Like, all I want to do right now is stretch my window out, and it won't stretch out. I'm trying, and it just won't stretch. What is going on?
Rigatoni234 telling DSP to try a salad place. Yeah, okay, man.
Our first tip of 2025, Lady Charisma. Thank you, Lady Charisma.
And
on YouTube now, WWE uploads recaps of those week's shows. You can catch up on the big plot lines without filler. It's like an 8 to 10 minute video. I can't wait to see reviews on the change to WWE. It feels like a whole new product. This is back in 2020. I know there will be support. No, I will be there to support if I'm not working during the stream. Cool. And again, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be yet. Ideally, it makes sense to do it.
Yep, gotta make sure that DSP knows that you will be there to give him money when he tries anything new.
Those kind of like recaps, we'll watch that. I feel like doing the Raw recap is the major focus, and then maybe we can briefly talk about the other shows depending on time. Definitely when the big events happen. I guess that's what those are on Peacock. Those are the things a lot of people want to hear commentary on, like what happened at the big event, right?
Stormforce Gamer at DSP Gaming. If you get a cheap VPN, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and all PPVs are available on Netflix in UK and Europe. You wouldn't need any other streaming service for WWE, just Netflix. Like, I don't think DSP is going to respond to that, but like DSP has this weird like loyalty to authority, and he would see that as stealing, right? Like, it's piracy at best, but like it would be stealing in DSP's book. So like if he responds to that, at best you just be like, no. Also, like, you're asking the guy to set up a VPN that requires like 3 clicks and probably some money. He's not going to do that.
The top line consoles, PS5 Pro or Xbox Series X, you really only need those if you're going to play above 1080p resolution. If you're only playing 1080p resolution, I'm not kidding you, the Xbox Series S is good enough.
And now we're talking about the difference between the pro and non-pro versions of the current gen consoles. This is literally something we talked about yesterday. Oh, you don't need to spend the extra money if you're only playing at 1080p, Groove.
I've tested various games and they're all running well on the PS5 Pro. Xbox Series X will run games at 4K, but not at 60 frames. So it's kind of like the Series S is 1080p, 60 frames. The Series X / PS5 are 4K 30 frames. And then if you want top of the line, 4K 60 frames, you need the Pro. Okay? Now, if you're asking between the two consoles what's better, neither is better. There have not been enough console exclusives this console generation for there to warrant a console war winner. I don't think there is a console war winner. I think there have been some great exclusives on PlayStation, like the God of War series. At the same time,
like who is willing to pay for these kind of takes? Like,
and you're going to get games new continuously, but you're going to miss out on the Sony exclusives. So what's more important to you? Is it a bigger game library for cheaper? Is it playing the exclusives as few as they are when they come out? That should be your determining factor. So hopefully that little mini buyer's guide has helped you to make your decision. Okay. Might be terrorism. Until we have information, you can't really say much about it, right? It's unfortunate. It's sad. You don't ever want to hear those stories. It's terrible that it happened. I wish the best for those people. Wow. That's all I can really say until more information, right?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. DSPolitics is like the worst content that he makes.
What I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about the year that was. All right? Last year, 2024. What a year. Like, holy crap, what a year 2024 was, right?
So now we're on like the third or fourth retrospective segment of the pre-stream. Just for those of you keeping track at home.
People were like, oh, what's the games you're most excited for? And I was like, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and what else? I think it was like 3 games. I think I said Elden Ring Shadows of the Erd Tree, or Shadow of the Erd Tree, right? Like, that was my big 3 that I was mentioning I thought I was excited for. And then everything else was kind of an X factor. Like, what would be good, what wouldn't be good, like no one really knew. When the year started.
Yeah, of course, like, he's talking about new games. Like, yeah, of course people, like, it's a new game. People do, like, when games are unreleased, no one knows how good they are, DSP. Like the fact that you felt the need to, like, say that, really, like, how long have you been an internet content creator, and how long have you been playing video games? Like, it's just such a non sequitur, but he says bullshit like this all the time, and it's just it really just makes my head hurt. And it's like, well, yeah, DSP, like, of course, an event that will take place in the future, it's unknown how that event will take place. Like, we don't know the character of that event because it has not happened yet.
Slow and uncertain. I remember in January, we had Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I started playing it. And at first I really liked it, but then basically didn't really catch on with the audience. A lot of people thought that it was too winded. You know, Yakuza games are very lengthy and dragged out. And being that it was a turn-based RPG, didn't really catch on, and a lot of people kind of burned out because I was also playing Baldur's Gate 3. So now playing 2 ginormously long, slow-paced, turn-based RPGs essentially was killing the audience, right? So I jumped into,
and you thought we heard the last of RPG Overload? We have not.
Because people wanted me to try a new fighting game, and I did. And I basically really enjoyed Tekken 8. The thing is, I had invested an insane amount of time in Street Fighter 6, and I played Tekken 8 for about a month and a half, and I got really good with Yoshimitsu. If you remember, my base characters I always use in Tekken.
DSP talking about his like time investments in the games that he plays. Like, I get that if you want to be like good at a fighting game, you have to like invest some time into it, right? But the fact that DSP has been playing fighting games for like 20 odd years, if not longer, that he still, like, he pretends that every fighting game he plays is like the first fighting game that he's picked up. Like, people who have been in the fighting game scene for a long time, they don't have those kind of learning curve issues like DSP does. Like, their skills as fighting game players are typically rather transferable from game to game to game, right? I forget, someone said something. It was who's like the GOAT fighting game player, the guy who, you know, said DSP for there's no prize for 4th place. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Like, didn't Justin Wong like get all of the characters in Street Fighter 6 to like Grandmaster in like a day or something like that? Like, yeah, he's insanely good at the game, but he's played like literally every fighting game that's ever been made. And so when a new fighting game comes along, like, you know, there's a core set of skills and like actions that are generally transfer. And so the fact that DSP has to act like he has to start from scratch and learn this in every new game that comes along is just really crazy to me. But I don't think he acts that way with like the Call of Duty games, because the man plays every Call of Duty game, right? And they're all first person shooters. And like, he still does a little bit of that whole like, oh, well, I'm still learning the new game or whatever, but it's not nearly as bad as the fighting game stuff, right? So it's just really funny to me that like that's his approach. And he was like, yeah, so I spent all this time learning how to play Street Fighter 6, and then I played Tekken for like a little bit, and I got really good with Yoshimitsu. And it's like, brother, you quit Tekken because you were so bad at it. I remember.
Are like Paul and King. I've always used those 2 in every Tekken game, and I was doing pretty good. But then I actually went to Yoshimitsu, and I actually really liked him. Albeit though, I don't think he was top tier, but I do feel like he was a strong like mid-tier character. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a Tekken competitive player or whatever, but I felt like he was decent, right?
Yeah, DSP does not use top tier characters.
My problem with the game, a couple issues.
Oh, and now we get to hear about the issues DSP had with Tekken.
Yeah, I remember the most part the connections were good, but then every once in a while you get that string of bad connections, or they look good but then they're bad, and it could screw you over.
This guy always complains about connections. He must have the spottiest internet connection of any streamer ever, because no one complains about connections the way DSP does.
Giant steeping climb up, and then it continues. So it's like for someone like me who's just getting back into Tekken for the first time in many years at any kind of a competitive level, it was like, okay, I learned the basics. I learned the mid techniques. All right, time to learn the advanced stuff. Oh, fuck. I can't climb. I'm slipping. I can't get up this incredibly steep mountain, right? It was like it was grease. You're like clamoring to try to hold on. You're sliding down.
And he thinks this is really funny, by the way.
If I had invested a lot more time into Tekken, like maybe if I played it 3-4 times a week, 3-4 nights a week, I probably would have gotten really good at it. And I probably would have liked it even more, honestly.
I mean, I'm probably one of the best gamers in the country, if you think about it.
But you get to the point where now it became so specific to learning matchups, to learning little intricacies. Like,
yeah, okay. So I hate it when he does this, right? His last rant about like Street Fighter 6 was the same thing, right? He's talking about like, oh, well, I just want to have fun and like play the game casually. But like all these try-hard sweaties are like on here, and they know all the ins and outs and all. And it's like, yeah, like that's like people who play the game more than you. They're going to learn all these really hyper specific pieces of information that you find out by studying or playing the game. And so like you can't have it both ways. And that's not the game's fault. That's just the nature of competitive fighting game playing, right? Is that the people who have, the most intimate understanding of how the game works, and like, people look at frame data and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of level that you need to be at if you want to be like a competitive player, right? But DSP's ego is so big that he can't stand the fact that he would lose to people who have that level of dedication, because he got 4th place at Evo in 2011 one time, right? Like that's where his head is. So whenever it comes to it, like he like the excuse he throws out is like, well, I only play this game once a week, and when there's all these sweaty tryhards in here that have been like labbing the game, and it's like, well, yeah, they like the game and they play it a lot, right? They're not variety streamers like you, DSP. So like you want them to just take it easier on you because they should be able to tell that you're dog shit, like. Because the problem is that DSP does not have fun playing fighting games unless he is winning. Like it's super obvious if you watch any of his fighting game stuff, right? Like he only likes fighting games when he's winning. And to me, that just tells me that he's a sore loser and not really that he particularly likes fighting games, right? So that's the problem. Like it's because he can't just pick up the controller for a game that he plays maybe once a week and just like beat everyone that he matches with. Like, because there's plenty of people who enjoy a game, a competitive game like that, and they're not really good. But even if they lose like every match, they can really enjoy like the experience of playing the match. And DSP, he is devoid of this joy. And like I've had this experience before. So I do like some competitive like gaming stuff, and it's like sometimes I come across an opponent who just like they surprise me in ways and do things that I never could have anticipated, but I have so much fun with just the act of participating that I still enjoy it, right? Like for me, it's not about winning the game, it's about having a good game. Right. And I think that's, obviously DSP is an immature individual, but like that, I think that's the mark of a mature individual and a good sportsman is someone who is involved in a sport because of legitimate love for the sport, not because they have a legitimate joy of winning. And that is one of DSP's many problems.
Well, this character has a completely safe hit string where he hits mid 4 times in a row. And unless you interrupt perfectly with a frame-timed jab, they can immediately just do it again and again. And literally, that's the whole round.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was saying. He's just bitching about people being more knowledgeable about the game than him.
Yeah, that's Tekken 8. I mean, that's been Tekken for a long time, actually. It's like this when you get to that level, you need to know the little nuance of how to stop certain abusable tactics. And not everyone has that time or...
Yes, fighting games are about nuance, Phil. You should know this as someone who's been a fighting game player for 2 decades.
After about a month of it, people were asking, where's Street Fighter? And I kept saying, well, I can't play 2 competitive fighting games at the same time. I'm not just an FGC guy. I do variety. If I play more than 1 fighting game at a time, you're talking 2-3 streams of each a week. That's more than...
I'm not Justin Wong. I can't play more than 1 fighting game at a time, Groob.
Play 1 fighting game, and for me, it was Tekken at the time. But then people were complaining, where's Street Fighter? So that was kind of the catch-22, was I couldn't play one and then the other, and people were then craving Fighter 6.
See, I have a feeling that people were asking for Street Fighter 6 because DSP was so miserable.
We got into some of the other games of the year. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I liked. The audience didn't.
I was just coughing my lungs out. I think it's because DSP was so miserable playing Tekken 8. Like the guy's gameplay is insufferable in general, but it's so much worse when he's playing fighting games. And I will say that like back when I first got involved with the guy, he still played like the Street Fighter collection on like PlayStation or Xbox, whatever it was. And watching Gojitenks like just wipe the floor with him in Street Fighter, what was it? Street Fighter 3 Second Strike or whatever it was so satisfying, because this man baby would get so salty, and like the really beauty of it is that the Gojitenks would use one of like the lower tier characters. He used like a C tier character. I can't remember what the character's name was, but DSP like would lose to that character, and DSP knows that even though DSP isn't using a top tier in that game, like he knows that the character the other guy is using is a lower tier than the character he's using, and so it's like a double slap to DSP's ego. Because normally when DSP is fighting people in a fighting game, because fighting games are competitive, typically people use the top tier, right? Because like a winning is a large component of the joy a lot of people extract from the game. That doesn't, not to say that like they don't enjoy the game even if they lose, but like typically that's the goal, is to be as good as you can be, and you don't want to handicap yourself by using an inferior character, right? So, but DSP was in a position where the tables had turned on him, right? And Gojitenks was using a character that was not as good as the character he was using, and so DSP didn't have that excuse to shield his ego from when he would lose to Gojitenks, right? And so then you got these absolute like salt field rants where DSP would complain about Gojitenks like being a lag switcher, and how his internet connection was bad, and how he can't play the guy because he like ruins his internet connection. It was very funny, so funny. And there's I think Ludwig did a tribute video to Gojitenks at some point. It's one of my favorite pieces of content. I wish the original live streams that featured Gojitenks were available somewhere, because man, that was some of the gameplay of DSP that was actually bearable to watch, because he would rage so much, like even less, or he would rage even more than he does now during fighting games. And like, because Gojitenks just knew how to push him over the edge. And it wasn't because Gojitenks was doing anything specific other than winning with a character that was lower tier than what DSP was using.
Or Dragon's Dogma 2, which I was skeptical about playing, but then everyone said I should play, so I did, and then no one liked it. And that was kind of par for the course of last year. If there was an action-based game, people usually liked it. And if it was anything else, slow-paced, RPG-esque, everyone hated it. It was the year of RPG overload.
And we're still talking about RPG overload.
It was a different year, and these RPGs had been spaced out. Like, if you actually look on paper at all these games, right? Like a Dragon Infinite Well, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Persona 3, whatever it was, Reload, or whatever the hell it was called. I don't even know what it was called. Dragon's Dogma 2. All of them kind of make sense on paper. But when you have them all releasing within a 3-month window,
I have to sneeze again.
Is anyone to enjoy them when there's such insanely long, attention-demanding experiences? Each one of the games I just mentioned, at a minimum, takes 60 hours to beat. Some of them take 80 to 100 hours to beat. That's a lot of time investment. How do you juggle more than one of those at once? The answer is you don't. You literally don't. So all these games being out during that time frame, so close, literally killed the market. Again, I explain.
So like, DSP loves to talk about how RPGs like nearly killed the channel, but I don't believe the guy actually likes RPGs. He does. I think he legitimately does like JRPGs, right? But I don't think he actually enjoys RPGs. Dragon's Dogma is a good example, right? So I started playing Dragon's Dogma like a while back, right? I bought it on Steam because I saw some videos on YouTube about it like years and years ago, and I was like, "Oh, this game looks really cool." Like I had just finished playing, like I put like many hundred hours into Dark Souls 1, and I'm like, "Oh, I want a new game to play. I'm kind of done with Dark Souls." And then someone was doing a Bitter Black Isle challenge playthrough of Dragon's Dogma, and I'm like, oh, this seems interesting. Like, I really like this seems kind of like the flavor's a little bit different, but it seems like the difficulty is there. Like, that sounds cool. I'm gonna check this out. And so when I finally did get around to playing it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna play through like the vanilla game first before I like try the challenge run or whatever. And I that's when I'm like, I don't like, that's when I learned that I don't like hardcore RPGs. Like the amount of effort that you should put into it if you're really interested in building like a really strong character, from what I could tell, was like more than I was willing to invest in the game, like casually playing it, right? Like you get through like the mountain pass and you end up in like the first like hub world, like hub city or whatever, and then that's when like all the character trees open up to you. And the amount of like the splitting branches when it comes to like what you can do with your skills and your character was just like more than I wanted to know about. Like and like there's plenty of people that appeals to, and I'm just not one of those people. And if I'm not one of those people, then there's like zero chance in hell that DSP is one of those people. Like this guy is not going to like learn what all the skills do in like a traditional like heavy RPG like that, so that he can build his character. But he also has people to hold his hand in Twitch chat, right? Like, or YouTube chat. They're just be, oh, Phil, you should be a magician, and then you should take some classes in assassin so you can be a magician assassin, because by the time you hit level 65, you're gonna have like the arcane assassin blast, and it's really good, and you're gonna be able to beat all the bosses. Like that's the kind of like RPG experience that DSP expects from his audience, right? Because he doesn't care about the game enough to learn that stuff. So you need to tell him how to do the build. And like we went through this with Elden Ring too. And like I haven't played Elden Ring because frankly, I just don't have much time for games anymore. But there was a lot of people like, hey, how did Phil figure out like the super OP build? Like there's no way he just stumbled on it. I will be so happy when I'm through with being sick. Anyways, back to the guy.
January of last year, I said, this is going to happen. And everyone said, oh, no, that won't happen. Guess what happened? Literally, the market bottom fell out for RPGs. A game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which everyone thought
you didn't give me enough money,
undersold and underperformed. What a shocker. You can't just nonstop release the same type of game 40 times in 3 months and expect that they're all going to sell. I said the same thing. I said, it's not the genre specifically. It's that there's too much of the same genre. It seems like everyone wants to release an RPG now.
Business side, Brunel.
Compare that to say, imagine if Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, and Tekken 8 all.
I was afraid we were going to get like a sandwich shop allegory, and I'm really happy we didn't.
To go around in the market to support 3 AAA fighting games within months. They would have all suffered in sales because of it, and that's what's happened with RPG overload in 2024. Okay, and that was
this is like not true, right? Like this whole business that he's on about, it's not like strictly true. Like I could kind of get the whole thing with the RPG overload, like because RPGs are really tend to be very long games that require a lot of technical knowledge about the game to be successful in. And so when you have a handful that are released all together, like if you just really like RPGs, you're probably going to buy the first one that's available. So like, you know, if there's one that comes out on the 1st of the month and then there's one that comes out on the 30th, you're probably going to buy the one on the 1st of the month if you're ready for something to play, right? And then you're going to start playing it, and assuming that you like it, you're probably going to sink a lot of time into it and then consider going back to the one that like didn't come out, right? Or if you're really into those games and you know that you're not going to have time to like play both of them even eventually, you're probably just going to like have a really long think about, okay, which one of these games do I want to buy, because I know I don't have time to play both of them. So like this whole notion that like if you release all these games at the same time, people are going to be less inclined to buy them. That's like marginally true, I think, for our RPGs. I don't think that's true for fighting games, right? Because again, we like I mentioned earlier how people who play fighting games a lot, they have a lot of transferable skills when it comes to playing fighting games, and except for this guy. So if you're someone who's like a really big into the fighting game community and there's a lot of fighting games coming out, you're probably just going to go ahead and buy them all. Or if you're this guy, you're going to buy them all 3 times. So, and then you're going to play them. And if you like one more than the other, you'll probably drop like the other ones and just focus on the one that you really enjoy and try to like get good at that. Because again, getting good is a big part of the motivation for playing those games, right? So, you know, he's talking about how all these fighting games came out and they all did poorly, I guess, because they all came out at the same time. And it's like, well, I'm not sure that holds water.
PG overload. So then what happened? I said, guys, I have to stop playing RPGs. I just have to cold turkey cut them out.
And if you think about it, so here's an interesting take, right? So the guy very obviously has trouble making decisions, right? And I think what he's trying to say is that as a consumer, if you have limited choices, that means that your ability to make decisions is easier. And like that's true to some extent. Like people have decision paralysis, right? And that's why like when it comes to like if you ever listen or if you ever hear anything about what do they call it like marketing psychology, like typically if you have a product line, you really don't want more than like 5 products, right? Like you really want good, better, best, right? And that's because for people who are stupid like DSP that like don't have the time or the willingness to like sit down and understand like what product they should purchase that fits their needs. Like they're going to say, oh, okay, well, there's the good, the better, the best. And I care about this one, like to get I care about this thing at a level that like I just need one of them. It doesn't have to be good. So I'm going to get the good one. Right. And then you got the person who's like, well, I've used something that like I have one of these things already and I need something that's better than the one that I have. So I'm going to get the better one. Or you have someone who's like, hey, I've been doing this for, I've had plenty of these things and I know that I need the top of the line. So I'm going to get the best one. That's kind of like how that psychology works. So what DSP is telling you is that as a consumer, like, or especially as a game consumer, like what we really need is to have fewer options. Because then all of us can buy the one game when it comes out and then we can all play it and have fun. And then when we all play it and have fun, then they can put out the next game. And like, it sounds stupid because it's really stupid.
And a lot of people had issue with that. You're not going to play Final Fantasy VII. You're not going to play Dragon's Dogma. You're completely skipping this RPG and this RPG and this RPG. Yes, I can't just sit here and play RPGs all day. I would love to. I grew up playing RPGs. They're in my blood. Games like the Final Fantasy series, Chrono Trigger, Suikoden, Earthbound. Classics, amazing games, love them to death. But they just don't work that well as lengthy streaming games. Get it? I kid stream maybe one every few months, but you can't stream 2 at once, 3 at once. That's insanity. And
this is like Mr. Variety Streamer. I hate to keep pausing, but like I guess we have plenty of skip juice, right? Like this is one of DSP's many problems is that as a variety streamer, when it comes to playing these like involved games, he never spends enough time with it to make meaningful progress in the game, right? So like if you're playing you can't just like play an RPG for 2 hours a week and expect to make any progress. Sorry, I had to sneeze again. You can't just expect to make any progress, right? Because the systems are kind of complex and the worlds are really big. And so if you set it down for a week and then you come back to it, like you need to spend more time like orienting yourself to, okay, what was I doing? What am I supposed to be doing now? Where am I going? Where am I? Like, and so like Mr. Variety Streamer over here, like this is one of the reasons why people don't support his RPG content is because he makes so little progress when he's playing them. And he needs so much hand holding because, for the reasons mentioned previously, right? So like he's not really doing himself any favors by like playing all of these games simultaneously and playing them a little bit at a time. Especially when it comes to these involved games, like he should probably have like, if he's going to stream an RPG, that should probably be like one of his streams every day until the game is done, right? And he constantly whines about how he's not making progress in games. And it's like, my brother in Christ, you are the one with the controller, right? It is up to you. Like if you spent less time fucking around in menus, if you spent more time trying to figure out, like actually doing the thing instead of making like weird scat jokes and like, trying to find bugs, like, and trying to make clips that are not funny whatsoever, you would get through the game a lot faster. And that would alleviate some of this problem that you had. Not to mention if we didn't waste 2 hours a day doing a podcast.
Game either. Like, let's say, for example, when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out, I played it for 2 weeks straight, and that's all I played. So I might have almost beaten it within 2 weeks, and I would have had less than 100 viewers, no support, and I would have went out of business. That's just...
And I talked about this yesterday, but again, this is the audience that DSP has curated for himself, right? He hasn't curated an audience that is willing to sit down with him with a game for a week straight. Like that's just the long and short of it, because there's plenty of streamers that do that sort of content and they are successful. And this is what I mentioned this yesterday. This is what that person in his chat was saying is that, Phil, you should stream what you want. And eventually the audience will you will build an audience that likes that. But the guy is not willing to take any less money for any amount of time.
That's the nature of the beast. I know what works because I've been around for 16 years. You need variety.
I've been around for 16 years. You need variety.
Okay, so that's it. And it's hilarious because every time that I say these very factual arguments, people say to me, well, That's not for you, Phil, because aren't you aware that Maximilian Dude was able to stream Final Fantasy VII? Maximilian Dude, the guy, million subs, you know, insane amount of views, overhyped guy who literally could take a shit on stream and would make $100,000. Yeah,
This is so wild.
It's not to scale, you buffoon. That's like, you know, that's like saying a pseudo celebrity can play whatever game they want and make money. No shit. Because people aren't there for the game. They're there for the celebrity.
Okay, we're pausing again. So like here's the part that DSP like doesn't get, right? Like I don't watch Maximilian Dude, but I do know enough about Maximilian Dude to know that he is incredibly successful as a streaming entertainer, right? And again, it's one of the, like there's two reasons why he can do this and continue to be successful is that one, he's actually entertaining, unlike you, DSP. Like he is actually entertaining, right? And the second thing is that he has only streamed the content that he wants to stream. Therefore, his audience wants to watch the content that Maximilian wants to stream, right? And obviously, like there's when it comes to internet content creation, there's like luck involved too, like right place, right time, and like you know, kind of like getting enough momentum to get noticed to pull you out of like the 1 to 2 viewer kind of range. So like you know, anyone who's successful on the internet has had some amount of luck, and you can you know decrease the amount of luck that you need just by like persevering and plugging content. But that does not mean that you cannot be entertaining and make it as an entertainer, right? Like full stop. Like Max would not be as big as he is if he was not entertaining. End of story. And the fact that DSP is as small as he is and he hasn't like figured out the opposite of that. Well, maybe I don't have any viewers because I am not entertaining. Is so crazy to me. Like I feel like that's a really logical step, Mr. Facts and Logic over here. It's so wild to me. But again, we like 90% of what DSP does is about protecting his ego.
Appearance. I'm not a celebrity. I don't know how many of you know this yet. I'm not a celebrity. When you compare me to these people, you're insane. All right, you are. You're literally nuts. I will never be the level of Asmongold. I will never be the level of these people who you try.
Oh, Phil, they're not comparing you. They're just saying that it can be done.
For me, I have to be a variety creator. All right, if I put all my eggs in one basket, I will not be successful. I have to spread myself across a variety so I can interest a different group of people that will come by to watch and support when I'm playing the kind of game that they like. But it can't be the same kind of game all the time.
See, this is another hole in DSP's logic here, right? Like he loves to say that he has like thousands of unique viewers, but only 200 to 400 of them ever show up on stream at a time. And it's like, so, and he's saying that apparently in order to keep those 200 to 400 people like rotating through, he has to like do variety. And like that doesn't make sense if you think about the argument that he's making, right? Like he's saying that so you have an audience of maybe 2,000 unique viewers worldwide, and any one thing that you do, you'll get 200 to 400 viewers, right? So if you're playing Street Fighter, a fighting game, then of the 2,000 people that watch you, you're going to get 200 to 400 people show up, right? But is that not true for the RPGs then? Like, is not there some portion of your audience that will show up to all of your RPG streams? So like it doesn't make sense that the guy is saying that, well, if I stream it every day, no one's going to show up. But when I stream it once a week, then I get my 200 to 400 viewers. And it's like, well, there's a disconnect here, right? That doesn't make sense. If those 200, 400 viewers were like people who genuinely wanted to watch you play an RPG, they would probably come to watch you stream the RPG if you were playing it once a week or every day of the week. Like that doesn't make sense. Am I missing something here?
So there you go. So anyway, yeah, so what happened was I stopped playing RPGs. And what happened is when I stopped playing RPGs, guess what happened? My views jumped. My support jumped. I started playing a good variety of games. I did a second run of Elden Ring to prepare for the Shadow of the Erdtree playthrough. I played a game like Another Crab's Treasure, a unique take on the whole Soulsborne formula, and it worked really well.
It's really funny when like DSP, like DSP's main attractor is his rage, right? And so when he's playing games that do not cause him to rage, like he gets super boring. And so like rather than admit that that's why people are there, and like he has admitted that in the past, like he's gone on rants of like, if you're only here to see me suffer. I think he had the if you're only here to see me suffer rant during the Elden Ring stream. He was like, you can leave, you can get fucked. And it's like, well, bro, like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, are you not?
First did incredibly well, and then the hype for Fallout 4 died, and so did the playthrough, right? So I would argue the first 6 to 7 months of 2024 was definitely highs and lows. A really slow start with RPG.
We're only halfway through the year. I mean, I guess we should be thankful that we are already halfway through the year. How much time we got left here? Is the podcast still going?
Exclusive story that no one knows. Ready?
Okay, it looks like he has started
and talking to me about Kino Casino for a few months.
the play. Okay, so we got approximately an hour left, which, man, that hurts.
That he talks about me constantly, even to now. He literally did a Christmas Eve stream all about me. Totally not obsessive, right? So, Kino Casino, I've been basically talking about review tech in a very negative way. And people had asked me, well, have you ever watched their show? Have you heard about what they're saying about review tech?
And now we're getting a review tech segment.
Light, while you have been harassed by this guy for years, been trying to talk about him and expose him, and no one cares what you say because, you know, you're a meme, you're a lolcow, right? And I was like, no, I don't know who Kino Casino is. I've never really heard of him.
You are a meme, you are a lolcow. Yes, that is true. Yes, that's true.
You know what? Just on a whim, this was like in July. I said, I'm going to check these guys out and see what they're all about. I'm curious because I never venture outside of my comfort zone, ever. I want to see what it is that people are talking about. So I went over to Kick one.
I never venture out of my comfort zone ever. Oh, how true. Oh, how true that is, DSP.
And I checked out one of their archived streams. And I started seeing them talk about Rich, and I was like, wow, they are destroying this guy. They're exposing him for things I don't even know about. Because again, I don't pay attention to these guys. These people obsess about me. It's not the other way around. So who even knew that any of this stuff was going on, right? And then, of course, I watched them make fun of me. I watched them actually have clips about me. They said things about me. They said things about my wife, right? They said all these things. I'm like, man, so they seem to be pretty rough to everyone, right? And
they're equal opportunity razzers. And that's what makes it okay.
Too. Like, I was watching it, and I was laughing at the show, even when they were making fun of me, and I was like,
this Kino, like, dick-sucking segment really sucks.
I'm going to reach out to them. So I did. I actually, at first, DM'd them on Twitter. And I said, hey, are you guys the hosts of the Kino Casino show? I want to make sure that these are the right people I'm talking to. And it took a few days, but then actually they responded back. I think it was Ashton who actually responded back first. And he was like, yeah, this is really Ashton from the show. What's going on? You know, I'm surprised to hear from you. And we had a conversation back and forth a little. And basically the conversation was like, listen, I've seen your show. I've heard it.
Ashton, I thought we called him Triple P.
Slamming review tech and all of this. And, just so you know, I'd be open to a conversation to talk about this kind of stuff.
Was this part of like the review or the interview me arc that DSP was going on when he was just begging for anyone to give him attention?
You guys remember what happened? Everyone told me not to do it. Right here on this very show, I talked to you guys about it, and I was like, and you guys were like, "No, don't do it. It's a obvious."
Asking his audience for if he should go on the show is just another classic DSP move of like, give me feedback so that I have someone to blame if things don't work out.
Obviously, I had that in my mind going into it, but I felt like at that point, okay, I need to do something different. I can't just sit here and do the same thing over and over. And this might be an opportunity, at the very least, even if it goes poorly, I'm sure a few people might get a laugh out of it, and maybe it would benefit some way. You know, the way I saw it, my detractors are going to do what they're going to do no matter what. And every once in a while, you got to take a shot at something. You know, it's kind of like, how can I say? In life,
this feels like a huge retcon, by the way. My memory's fuzzy. Maybe it's the fever, but this just doesn't seem true to me.
You're gonna miss out on so many positive opportunities in your life just because you had a bad experience once or twice or 5 times or 10 times or 50 times. Well, in my case, I've had a lot of bad experiences with people. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So DSP, like, there's a saying that you probably haven't heard, but it's like if everyone you meet is an asshole, they're not the assholes you are, right? Like, if you have a problem with literally everyone that you run into, you are the problem, not them.
Okay. But I feel like if I just say, oh, I give up, I'm never going to try. I never want to have a conversation. I never want to go on a show. I never want to do a collab. I never want to. I'm going to end up sitting here, 70 years old, withered and gray, and only having done the same kind of content and never done anything different. And I might maybe be happy with
That's the thing. He hasn't done anything different. Like Ashton said it the other day, is that DSP had the ability to pivot into any other kind of content, and he chose not to.
I wanted to take that chance. I don't know what it was. I just had a good feeling about it. I did. I legit had a good
This has to be bullshit.
Something good would finally come.
Some detractors who are more talented than me will probably have the receipts for this. I'm really not feeling it. There's no way that DSP reached out to them first, unless he was on his debate me bro arc where he's like, oh, these guys talk shit about me, and they need to interview me so they can hear my side of it. Like, that has to be what it was.
Having the big explosive interview with Stuttering Craig. We all know how that went. And, other things as well.
We do know how that went, DSP. It was very funny.
We did gameplay of, what was it called? Chain Together. And then later on, we did some zombies gameplay on.
I don't care about the gameplay you've done with Kino.
So many awesome collabs between those guys on the internet. One school of people are my detractors who will never be swayed. They'll always hate me. They'll always obsess over me. And they're always going to benefit by saying negative things about me. So that's literally never going to change. But now what's happened is we have two other categories.
See, here's the thing, is that would change. Like if DSP, so a lot of times I think when I'm watching a detractor video, DSP just does some, he just acts like DSP. I think I had to cough again. I think to myself, like, DSP never change. And it's because he can't. He's not capable of changing. The guy who likes to talk about how much he has changed has never changed in his whole life, right? And like that's the thing that he like cannot come to terms with, is that the reason why the detractor community is so like long-lived is because he's constantly making new enemies, because he's the same person he's been for the past 2 decades, right? Like if he had legitimately turned over a new leaf and had stopped doing the bad things, like eventually his detractors would go away. But he's not capable of doing that because there's something like wrong with his brain. And so like that's why like detractors come and go all the time. People retire from detracting, as silly as that sounds, or people take like, long breaks that last years and years. And then they're like, oh, I'm just, I haven't watched anything on DSP for 5 years. I'm going to see what's up. And then they Google like DSP detractor and they find a video and they're like, wow, the guy has literally not changed. Like he's still doing exactly the same bullshit that he has been doing since he's been on the internet. And that's what he cannot come to terms with, is that the reason why he gets all the hate that he gets is because of the way he acts. And like, he's not willing to admit that the way he acts is wrong.
People who are neutral and are actually truly neutral, looking at me now and be like, all those years that people hated on Phil, it doesn't really make
this
sense.
is a cope.
There's even now a 4-hour documentary.
Like we're LARPing right now.
There's nothing really that bad in it.
There's really like most neutral people that like run afoul of DSP. They're like, they either find it very funny how clueless he is, or they're like, wow, this guy's a piece of shit. And you're like, yeah, like I know.
In fact, that's what I've been saying for years. If people would just see me fairly and stop throwing me in.
He always talks about getting a fair shake, right? And that's what's so funny about, one of the funny things about the Side Scrollers interview is because he had the fairest shake he could get, right? The fact that he thinks Kino are his best buds, and how their interview with him or whatever went so well is because it was biased in his favor, right? Like they went out of their way to like make him feel comfortable, not ask him hard questions, like and to sweep for him, as the kids say, so that like they could like build some rapport with him and then manipulate him later, right? Like that's why it went well. But like DSP, like that's how DSP's brain works, is that as like a narcissist, like unless people like just outright love him for no discernible reason, they have a vendetta against him. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works.
Like they're all doing that now on their own restreams and shit. And I don't care about those people. They don't matter. They're literally farts in the fucking wind.
Pro tip: when DSP says he doesn't care about something, he actually cares about something. But he's not talking about it because he knows it won't make him any money.
Oh, and then they're gone. Doesn't matter what they say and do. Instead, now my community is able to enjoy each other's company without that level of intervention, harassment, whatever you want to call it, that used to always be prevalent. That's a good thing. In addition, I have gotten increased support. Even though you might say, well, I don't get your views are back to normal. Yes, but now people actually are being fair to me. Understand? So now, look at what I have. An amazing studio setup. The ability to play any game I want at any moment. I'm not so...
This is another wild thing about the guy, right? So he loves to harp on about like things being fair and unfair. And my brother in Christ, life is not fair. The world is not fair. Inequality exists everywhere, right? And like sometimes, and as someone who like has a disability, it's really like I've seen it firsthand. Like sometimes you're treated unfairly because of like who and why you are, for reasons that are outside your control, right? And even if those reasons are within your control, like that's not you being treated unfairly, that's you like suffering consequences for your bad behavior, right? And if you are being treated unfairly, like that means you have to go out of your way to like work to get the best outcome. I mentioned yesterday that things in life, if you want the outcome, if you want a particular outcome or a positive outcome in life, oftentimes it takes some effort. And that can be because of this situation, because you're put in an unfair situation and you can't just complain that it's unfair and then someone will come in and make it fair. Like that's not how life works. And I talked about DSP's, like my fan fiction about DSP's childhood, and like his fixation on things being fair is so indicative of someone who as a child never had to deal with Like he always had that insulation around him, right? Like if DSP was like at a birthday party and a kid got a bigger piece of cake than him, he could say, "Hey, this isn't fair. His piece of cake's bigger than my piece of cake." And then like his parents would go and like get DSP more cake. Like that's the kind of life that this guy has lived. He's always had an authority figure that he could appeal to, and if he bitched about something enough, they would just fix his problems for him. But as now that he's 42 years old, there isn't someone who can fix his problems for him. I mean, outside of his whales that just like give him money for no reason. So like that's part of the reason why he's so miserable all the time, is because he never learned how to solve his own problems, and he hasn't accepted that the world is unfair. And sometimes you have to like, you know, I'm not a Trekkie, but there's that saying that Picard said that it's, you know, it's possible to make no mistakes and still lose. Like sometimes you just have to take the L, and like that's not the boat that DSP's in, because he makes a lot of mistakes and then refuses to take the L. And it's really embarrassing, but like that's, you know, so it's like this world where everything's supposed to be fair. It's just not, it can't exist. And the fact that DSP is 42 years old and insists on the world being fair is just wild.
Financially restricted that I can't even play new games unless I raise a certain amount. We're not there. We're hitting.
Oh my God. And we're talking about being financially restricted. The guy that spends all his money on WWE champions. Like this is why people have a problem with WWE champions, Phil, is because you spend all your money on it and then you make it your supporters' problems.
I'm just a normal guy, that I'm personable, that I'm rational, that I'm not some
just a normal guy with a spending addiction.
Freak out to scam you every moment.
Also a narcissist.
Which is what these idiots have said for 10 years and is not true.
You do scam people. We've seen you do it today on your podcast.
Effort and dedication and determination and work that I put into this. I feel like I should at least be able to be treated like a normal human. And I'm glad that now that's happening.
You are not a normal human, dude.
Damn. So, thank you for that. And as you can see, these last few months have been wildly successful. Whether it's getting into PC gaming the first time in over 10 years and now being able to play any PC game I want on keyboard and mouse on a high-end setup with massively increased.
And now we have a setup segment again.
60 frames per second. Co-streaming on 2 different services, which is amazing when you really think about it. Co-streaming.
This is so dumb. I hate this. I thought we were done. DSP said we were done with the setup talk. We were in, like, I was a fool for believing that, because the guy has nothing to say. So he's going to say the same thing that he said yesterday and the day before that 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 and the day before that. Like,
they're looking very, very up. The only thing is, my level of positivity and success is not the mainstream belief system, okay? Sadly out there.
Hold on. What do you say? My level of positivity and success is not the mainstream belief system. Jamie, roll that back.
Level of positivity and all right, things are looking very, very up. The only thing is, my level of positivity and success is not the mainstream belief system. Okay, sadly, out there are people who think to be successful, you need to be a million sub YouTuber. You need to be.
DSP just got done. So that sentence, I don't even want to pretend to know what that meant, but like DSP did just get done talking about how like he has such a small audience, but they like give him so much money. And the thing that, again, another one of those things that he just refuses to address is that like there's a reason why like per capita you get so much more money from your viewers than any other streamer, right? Like there's the only reason why you get as much money as you do with the audience that you have is because you manipulate them into giving you money. And DSP just cannot recognize this. He refuses to recognize this because it would mean that he's doing something wrong. And like, you know, the guy is really tied up on like things being legal and moral, and he likes to pretend that he used to be a Catholic, and it boggles the mind.
Bringing in thousands of viewers to stream, you need to be making insane amounts of bank. I don't believe any of those 3 things. All right, I feel like to be successful, you need to love what you do.
You do make an insane amount of bank, DSP. It's because you have 20 years of legacy content that you still earn ad money on.
You have an audience that loves,
and you get, you know, several $100s a day on average. I don't have the tips tracker in front of me, but that's just the money that we can see. Like people estimate that he's like well over $100,000 in income, and like that's a pretty good living. Like especially for a guy that sits in his jammies and talks to a camera for 6 hours a day.
to see you love what you do. And then you need
This is also bullshit because DSP does not love what he does.
to find a way to make it profitable. And that's it. All right?
And DSP's way of making it profitable is to manipulate people into giving him money.
I love live streaming. I love interacting with all of you. And I love the fact that now we have flexibility to do whatever we want. On a day, we can just sit here and talk, or we can play a game, and it can be a game from any direction, PC, console, whatever. No limitations, right? Talk about politics. We can talk about other topics. We can do pro wrestling again. We can go in any direction we want. We have that flexibility. And you're here for the ride, and you know that now there's a positive community focused around it, that we can now support each other. We can have great social experiences. It's okay to like DSP again. It's not, oh, now you're an idiot because you like DSP.
It's okay to like DSP again. Very funny.
That no one cares about. The funny part is they have become the Lolcows and they don't realize it.
He loves to say that no one cares about his detractors and they have become the Lolcows. And you know, we're watching Raw Phil right now. Raw Phil has approximately, like, you know, originally he had, I don't know what, I mean, this is live, right? So people are probably leaving because maybe he's in the gameplay now. But at one point he had 660 odd viewers, right? And DSP, I think at that point had just under 300. So like, here's a detractor that no one cares about. I care about you, Raw Phil. And that person has double the amount of views that you do, right? Like, the cognitive dissonance in order to make these statements is astounding.
Thousands of idiots cannot look in the mirror and understand that they are now object of ridicule because they are the obsessive losers here. I am not the heinous villain they made me out to be for a decade. And
breaking news, we're the obsessive losers.
We are free to now enjoy each other's company and enjoy new kinds of content, different kinds of fun, and not have to worry about any of their bullshit.
That's always been the case. You're the captain of your own ship, DSP. Like the detractors making commentary about your exploits on the internet, that should not have any impact on how you can, you know, conduct your business. Like and again, this is DSP surrendering any agency that he has. Like, his excuse is that everything was so shitty for so long was because of my detractors making fun of me. But he refuses to recognize that for the entire time that he was, you know, quote unquote, under the boot of his detractors, is that he always had the ability to like, he had the control to make the changes on his own stream, right? Like, there was no reason why, like, he couldn't do something like with and for his audience. And like, did the detractors like make that harder at sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. And it's very funny. But like, if he, you know, say really wanted to set up a lobby to play fighting games with his community, he like absolutely could do that, right? Like, he could have like a password, you know, protected lobby or whatever, and so they can get in. But you know, this is also the guy that like doesn't want to learn how to like use Fightcade and doesn't want to like, he just doesn't care enough to like do these things because they're not like immediately like money producing activities. And we talked about this yesterday. Like, DSP, anything that DSP that's in any way related to his streams or his content, he expects to be paid for that time, and that's just like not how the world works when you're a small business owner.
How long has it been since I've directly addressed any of them about anything they've said about me? I don't need to.
You just got done talking about Rich, so there's that.
Thing to say negative about Phil to try to make a buck today. Go ahead and make your buck. You're irrelevant. And the moment that I turn the camera off, you die.
Oh, so okay, so we have permission to do this now, is what I'm hearing. So but you know, DSP tends to waffle on whether we as trolls have permission to like use his content or whatever, but it sounds like he just gave us permission. So if there's any clippers out there, like this one, we'll want to save.
Get it? You just die on the vine. Done. Nothing else to sustenance. So there you go. I'm happy with how this last year went. Seriously, I had a great time. A really great time. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed it as well.
We could tell you had a great time this year, DSP.
Pretty negative in the gaming industry with how things were going. And then what a turnaround in the second half where now it doesn't matter if games are bad or not. We have more than enough to do. Like, admittedly, let's be honest.
Ends of wind in the kick chat, but you won't turn off the camera, lol. And that is so true. The guy he's got no options, right? Like, there's no way that he will ever stop streaming unless he physically has to, because the money is too easy. And in his heart of hearts, he knows that there's nothing he could do that would A, earn him this much money, or B, would earn him this much money for this little actual effort.
You've got new content coming up, year-end series, all kinds of stuff going on.
And now we're talking about schedule again.
A bunch of big AAA games to support me and have my content be successful anymore. I can just do whatever I want. I love that freedom. I love that creative control. I really do.
Okay, so we just got done talking about how we can't play RPGs, but now he turns around and says, I can do whatever I want because I have control over my content. Like, these two statements are contradictory, and they cannot both be simultaneously true.
Fan bases I've ever seen on the internet. You guys who are still here, You stuck through it, man. You really
All
did.
5 of you that are still here, you the
We've
real
come out
ones.
the other end of that tunnel. Yeah, absolutely we have. There's no reason to worry about the future. We're in a good position. As long as you guys keep coming by to hang out with me every day and we have fun together and you support that fun, we're good. Doesn't matter where the game industry goes. Doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Jade and Game Boy are the real ones for real, for real.
That's all I care about in 2025, man. Now, not to say that, that means that you sit back and, now everything's just roses and unicorns and rainbows. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things.
Roses and unicorns and rainbows.
Mountains to climb. I'm sure there will be more adversity to face. Life is like that. Whenever you feel good, all of a sudden, adversity comes and smacks you right in the face. And it's all about tackling each thing as it comes and continue.
Here's another excellent comment from Sarah Barclay that DSP will almost certainly ignore. There has been a lot of positive changes at DSP Gaming, but I do miss your ability to play JRPGs with this new style and business model. I don't think you will ever complete a JRPG again. Like, that's what he wants, Sarah. Like, again, I don't know if Sarah is actually a LARPer or not. What we do know is that Sarah has given DSP money, or at least I believe that is true. But like that's what DSP wants. He doesn't want to get bogged down in games because, in his mind, like, his brand is that he's the guy that plays all the games, but he doesn't play them well, and he certainly doesn't finish them, right? And so, like, he like this, like, a lot of today's segment and a lot of yesterday's segment was just him kind of like prepping his audience for the fact that he's not going to be finishing games anymore, and unless people give him money. But we know from the Divinity Original Sin playthrough that, like, even if he gets the money, that's still not a guarantee that he's actually going to, like, play the game or finish the game. And then we also know that he's going to retcon it and tell you that, like, people didn't give him money when they actually gave him a ton of money.
Continuing forward positively. All right. I am very excited for the future this year, all the stuff that is to come. And I hope that you are too. I want to thank you also.
Also, I don't know if it's the filters or if DSP has just changed the way he talks, but, like, when he would say excited in the past, he would say excited and, like, really, like, emphasize the T's. And I can't tell if he stopped doing that or if it's because he's changed his audio. But, like, that was one of, like, the really annoying quirks of how he talked. And I'm glad that I don't have to hear it
so much. For 2024, it was a great year, in my opinion. I had a great time with it, and I'm very much looking forward to new stuff in the new year. All right. Cool. I received a $2 tip. Excited for frequency tonight. Let's find the dang killer. Yeah. So now let's briefly cover the schedule, which is going to lead us to our next topic.
And now we have another schedule segment.
But honestly, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. We haven't talked about it enough to really set it up yet. So maybe we can't do it tomorrow. Maybe we got to, like, postpone it till, like, Friday. Because the whole idea was that we were going to talk about it, and now we have, like, 20 minutes left.
Only 20 more minutes. Thank God.
Eska, how are you? 37-month member says, Happy New Year, Phil. Here's to a prosperous year, and you as well. Thank you so much, Eska. Speaking of which, let's get some support. Guys, we're $9 of support.
Let's get some subs. Let's get some tips.
Let's get some super chats. Let's get some subs.
He's so low energy when he does this. Like a lot of people in the detractor community really don't care for the Kino Casino style and find them, like, really grating. But you have to admit that they do put, like, if nothing else, they do put a lot of effort into what they do. Like, it's really tangible how much effort they put into their streams. And DSP does not do any of that. So it's really like when they do it, it's kind of like tongue in cheek. And like, that's another thing that DSP loves to, he'll just, like, beg, and then he'll follow it up with, like, one of his, like, snake laughs. And then he'll be like, oh, I was just joking, guys. Like, I didn't mean you should actually give me $200, like, you specific person in the chat. I was just joking. I learned that little trick from Triple P, right? Like, that's how he is. He thinks that he can say what he wants to say and then just pretend it's a joke. There was a meme on the internet called, like, the Schrodinger's douchebag, and, like, that's the kind of behavior that DSP exhibits, right? He's like, I'm gonna pretend I'm serious, and if you don't like what I just said, I'm gonna claim it was a joke the whole time, but also not joking.
So basically, I've gotten all kinds of different suggestions when it comes to, like, what kind of mods I should get if I'm gonna do a Dark Souls.
I'm so glad that we spent all this time fucking with the background just to chroma key it out. But it is painful to watch, like, the quote unquote light show that DSP puts on. Like, it's so stupid.
Similar to the Scholar of the First Sin version of Dark Souls 2, where it kind of.
And now, are we done with the podcast yet?
There's a thing called Daughters of.
We're talking about mods, but this might be just an extension of the segment for. This might just be an extension of the schedule segment, but scrolling through the timeline, it looks like he's looking at mods for like a long time. Okay, so we're back to full screen here. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute my mic when I cleared my throat.
It's a newer one. Now I haven't played either, so I don't know. Should I do one of those? There's actually also
we're gonna bump this up
interesting graphics
to 2 times.
So I don't know.
Because I really don't give a shit. This whole like, what mods should I install for my game, you guys? It's again the classic DSP tactic of I don't know anything about anything. You have to hold my hand and tell me what to do, and then I can complain if something went wrong. But it would be really funny if someone tricks DSP into installing like a Gravelord mod, like a perma Gravelord mod, so that he has to deal with Gravelords through his whole playthrough. Like, there's no way that they would like get away with it. Like he would eventually ban that person, and he would also like disable the mod after like a day or so. But it would like that might be a good target for the LARPers out there.
Use a random number generator to pick the randomizer for true randomization. There's not that many randomizers. There's only a couple. Like I said, there's enemies and there's items. See, I'm excited because I've never done mods before, ever. In any game, I've never done mods, right? I think the only mod I've literally ever done was when Fallout 4 added mods on Xbox One, and I tried a few random ones, like the Macho Deathclaw that was just not referenced.
Wow, DSP has never launched a mod before. What are the odds? The guy who has zero technical know-how and zero imagination has never tried to like get a mod to work.
I remember the Skyrim stuff, but I don't remember what it was, honestly. I'm pretty sure they don't have a Minecraft mod for Dark Souls. What are you talking about? That'd be insane if they did. Make Dark Souls look like Minecraft.
All right, this is kind of starting to feel like a skip ahead.
Enemy randomizer randomly replaces enemies and bosses in the world. Shots. End up fighting Sith in a random area for no reason. Oh my God, Nito. Where is Nito? Why is he there? Where are they right now? Why is Nito here too? Why is Gravelord Nito showing up a million times? Oh God, isn't that the last boss? Where is he? Where's he showing up? I don't know what this is. I can't even tell what this is. Again, they just keep showing Sif in a random area. Giant skeleton. He's supposed to succeed again every single time. You sit at the bonfire, it reshuffles. Like, this could be like so wild.
I don't care. I just don't care about DSP pulling his chat to pick mods. And we're skipping. And we're skipping.
10 minutes left on the show today.
And we're still looking at mods. This is another great example of like the things that DSP does like as work activities that people shouldn't be paying him for. Like if he really wanted feedback from his audience, he should just put up a fucking poll on his community tab and be like, hey, I've looked at some mods. Like, these are the ones that I think are interesting. You know, vote for whatever mod you want most, and then I'll install 3 of them, right? Like that's how you can do it. And like, knowing DSP, he's way too insecure to do anything like that. So it would probably be a nominate what mods I should play, you guys, and then you would have the poll. But like, doing that not on your stream would be so much more, like, that'd be so much better than what he's doing now. Like, this is a snooze fest.
I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we're doing it, and then we turn on the stream. Well, none of the mods are installed. Let's install the mods, and the entire stream becomes installing the mods instead of playing the game. I think that would piss people off, including me. But I want time to do it properly. Maybe what we do tomorrow's podcast is the Dark Souls mod podcast, where we go here, we download the game, download the mods we want, we install the mods, we get it working. So
and now he's threatening to install the mods live on stream too. Oh boy.
What the fuck? Sure, another electric Toyota. Moving forward at a careening pace.
All right, so we're finally out of Dark Souls mod hell.
All right, that's not the podcast. I like the idea of electric cars. I really do. If we could get rid of fossil fuels, great.
Oh boy.
Once again, humans, what we're doing is we're rushing forward at a careening pace before the infrastructure is ready. I'll give you an example. You're going to get a kick out of this one, okay?
This is so stupid.
We are one of the most progressive left-leaning states in the entire country when it comes to political thought and stuff like that. So our government actually is trying to outlaw fossil fuel cars, saying if you want to drive a vehicle, in a few years, you can only buy an electric vehicle, okay? It's good intentions. But last year during the winter, all right, all of a sudden, a big alert came out from our electric company. Want to know what the alert was? Whatever you do, stop using electricity. Turn anything off you don't need, cut back on it, because the grid is an amazing amount of stress right now, middle of the winter, and we're at risk of having a major failure or actually running out of electricity. So please do all you can do to conserve electricity. I want you to think about this. We are currently in the early stages.
This is a shit ass like DSPolitics tier take, and unfortunately I feel the need to respond to it, but I'm letting him say his piece.
We don't have enough electricity now. So what's going to happen if all of a sudden no one can drive fossil fuel cars anymore, and everyone has to get an electric car? We don't even have the grid.
Like, this is so fucking stupid.
What we're doing now. How the fuck does that make any sense?
Are you
Does it make
done?
any sense at all? Like, I'm all for going to clean alternatives, really.
Okay, I think I've heard enough to make my point. Like, so the thing that DSP like doesn't fucking realize because he's an idiot is that at no point, at no point has there been existing infrastructure for like land vehicles in the United States of America, right? Like whole cities were rebuilt with the adoption of like the gasoline or the motor vehicle, right? Because before the motor vehicle, all of the infrastructure was for fucking horses and carriages, right? And so when as cars became more popular, the infrastructure then like the need for the need for the infrastructure drove the infrastructure to be created. And this is the problem. Like this is the exact same thing that electric cars have to tackle. And so you get fucknuts like DSP here who goes, oh, well, we don't have the infrastructure for electric cars, so we need to like not roll them out so quickly. And it's like, well, we're kind of in the middle of a climate crisis, so like this take makes zero sense on a ton of levels. But like at the bottom of it, his argument is that there's not enough infrastructure to support electric cars, so you shouldn't force people to have electric cars, because what happens when we run out of electricity and we can't charge our cars, right? So but the same thing, like the reason why gas stations exist everywhere is because eventually people got cars and they needed gas stations to put gas in their cars. Same thing with electric charging stations, right? If there's enough density of electric cars in an area, someone is going to install an electric charging station. And that was a big push from Tesla, especially before, fuckwit Elon got a hold of it, was that they were pushing electric car infrastructure, because that's like these two things go hand in hand. You get more adoption, which gets you more infrastructure, which makes it easier for people to adopt more, which gets you more infrastructure. Like these are compounding things. They build on each other. And of course, Mr. DSP here, like there's no way he could ever have a take as nuanced as that. And when it comes to the grid, right? The same exact thing you can say for the grid, right? Because like I am not an electrical engineer, but I do have enough understanding of like how the grid works to say this and feel like I'm not lying, is that the amount of power that's put onto a grid has to basically equal the amount of power that is being drawn from the grid, right? And so like there's a lot of tuning that has to happen, because you cannot, like, if you over generate power by a certain margin, things start breaking, right? And if you don't generate enough power, then things start breaking, right? So as demand increases, you have to modulate the amount of power that's being generated, to meet that demand. So the same thing applies with electric cars. If there's more electric demand, and like that's the thing about the electric cars is like, and this is the part that DSP would never fucking understand, because he's a big fucking idiot, is that the part that power grids have really trouble dealing with is unforeseen demand, right? But cars are not that way, because at least in this country, people use their cars on a very regular basis, right? So as adoption of electric cars increases, the overall power demand on the grid is going to rise by a certain amount, and it's going to maintain that need. And so over time, it's going to be a lot easier for the power generators to accommodate that increase in need, because it's not going up and then dropping down and then going up and dropping down. It's going up by a little bit and then staying there, and then going up by a little bit and then staying there, right? Like this is why we have water towers, and this is why we have dams, is because when you're using a power plant to generate electricity, you need to store that energy if there's less demand on the grid than what the power being generated, what power is being supplied, right? And one of the ways you do that is by pumping water uphill, so that when there's more demand, you can run that, unleash the potential energy from that higher, that elevated water to turn a turbine to make a generator work, right? Like that's how it works. And it's not possible to have a generator that like it's really complicated, and there's a lot of really smart people that make all of this infrastructure work. And DSP has a non-existent grasp on how anything in life works, especially as something as complicated as the power grid. That this is just like a dog shit take, and he just should not have an opinion, right? But like it's DSP, so like he's smarter than everybody else, and you should like love and respect his opinions.
I want to have clean air. I want to stop using fossil fuels, but can we do it in a method that makes sense, that doesn't screw over humanity? Oh, you can't drive anymore in a fossil fuel car, but now no one has electricity. The grid just got shot, so now no one can do anything. That sounds like a good idea. Why is no one using their fucking brains out here? Why are everyone's with emotion? Oh, the earth is being destroyed and all that. So let's just outlaw everything. How about we rationally tackle the problems in a method that we can do it step by step in a proper method? I don't care if by 2060, 2070, all we drive are electric cars out here, but let's improve the grid first so we can support that level of electric use and drain. Why are we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot? We want to move forward too fast, too quick before we're ready for
the money to improve the grid will come from selling more power to meet more demand.
I know people are like, DSPolitics return. Well, it's just something that's a pet peeve of mine. Like I said, it reminds me of when I moved out here.
Is it a pet peeve of mine?
In 2014. So
Just fucking dog shit. Dog shit uninformed takes.
The entire system was broken. Why? Because President Obama, had redone the American healthcare system, now Obamacare, right?
And like maybe I'm going too deep on this. Maybe I'm being dented, but like this person in chat, Craze Bees, says incrementalism is not the answer. And I think you could make the argument that incrementalism isn't the answer, right? You could say that like if we really wanted to address like the bigger problem here, and the bigger problem being the world's reliance on fossil fuel infrastructure, then yeah, like the best way to solve that problem is to just like fast track that problem to being fixed. And that usually means like big government spending in establishing the infrastructure, right? But like historically, that's just not how things go, especially not in this country. And it's also really not fair to developing countries, like to ask them to invest in like more expensive technologies when, you know, they still don't have, you know, clean water for people to drink, and, you know, people can't afford clothes and stuff like that, right? Like, so like when we're talking about America, yeah, I would agree, like incrementalism is not the answer. And forgive me again if I'm going too deep on this, but we don't have our political climate is not conducive to like big sweeping changes of this nature, right? We're too bound up with the free market. And so we have to use the market to solve our problems. And that's why you get these mandates from governments of like, hey, after, you know, in 10 years, like you're not allowed to buy a electric or a gas powered car, right? Because they can't say like, hey, manufacturers, you're not allowed to manufacture gas powered cars anymore. Like the lobbying would be all over them, right? But they need to start encouraging consumers to adopt this new technology that's a little less reliable and a little more expensive, because that is how infrastructure gets built in this country, is through incremental changes in demand.
Except there was no infrastructure. So I'm not kidding. I moved out here and I contacted the people to get insurance. I filled out the forms. I sent them in. I never heard back. 6 months later, I contacted them. What happened? Do I have insurance? No, you don't have insurance. What do you mean? I did everything that I was told to do. I sent you everything. Oh, well, the form just sat in this queue and no one really prompted to look at it. So it's a good thing you called us today. Now we'll start taking action on it. But we need more information from you to qualify. Why didn't you tell me this 6 months ago?
Is this guy bitching about bureaucracy now? So here's like the funny thing is that DSP wants you to believe that he filled out a form to get insurance and he sent it in. And then 6 months later, after not hearing anything, he was like, I should check up on that. And his first question is, do I have insurance? And it's like, well, no, dumb fuck. Like you didn't sign anything and you didn't pay shit. So why would you have insurance? Like this is just how he is. But he's couching like his tone and his body language. He wants you to believe that this is not something that he did wrong, right? Like, oh, I did everything you told me to do. And it's like, well, again, sometimes in life, in order to get the outcome that you want, like having insurance, it requires a little effort, right? So like if you submitted the form and you didn't get any response from that form, well, that might warrant a phone call after, 3 weeks or something like that, and be like, hey. And instead of waiting 6 months and going, I need my insurance and you never sent me my insurance card. And the provider that he contacted was like, yeah, because we didn't give you a policy. So you didn't get a card because you don't have insurance. Like this is how this guy's brain works. And it's so wild.
A leg or anything, I would have no health insurance and I would have not been able to get care. Or I would have gotten care and received an insanely high bill for medical care that I wouldn't have been able to afford and would have been financially ruining. But Obamacare, let's rush it out there. But there's no infrastructure for it. There's no one hired to handle it. People are going to be submitting for it, and their applications will sit in a queue for 6 months, and no one will look at it. Who cares? Just launch it because Obama said so. That's our American government.
He's so stupid. Anyway, he's so dumb.
That's what annoys me about it. So I see all these electric vehicle ads, and they actually drive me nuts. They do. Like, dude, you don't want everyone to get electric vehicles. If they did, overnight our grid would be overloaded, and then we'd have no electricity. We need to prepare for it slowly. Let's do an infrastructure upgrade in the next 5 to 10 years to change it so that we can now have the capacity for all these electric vehicles. Who's looking into that? No one.
And see, this is why I cannot watch DSPolitics, because like these are the dog shit garbage tier takes that he has, because he is stupid and uninformed, and he thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. And like technically speaking, he is the smartest guy because he's the only guy in the room, but he's not the only person that has to listen to his bullshit.
Ultimately, it is one of the best values for the dollar, and here's what I mean.
Like DSP would be fine if internet streaming was not a thing. Like he'd probably be like chief custodian at like a high school or something, and that'd just be a job that he's had for 30 years, and like he's not good at his job and he bitches about doing it, but like he does do it for the most part, and he does a passable job, so they don't fire him, and like that would just be his life, right? But instead he had to point the camera at the television.
You're receiving a tremendous amount of products for the price tag that you're paying. Okay, so you're getting a big deal. You really are. You're getting a big deal.
And also, like, that's not a knock against our custodial staff. They're great. People like the people in sanitation, they really help make society work, and I tip my hat to them. But that's, one of the jobs that you don't have to be a Steve Jobs in order to do. Like, as long as you are willing to do the work, you can hold the job.
You only spent like $15, and now there's no skin off your back. You didn't spend 70. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you buy it outright when it's on?
But like, can you imagine like DSP actually like in like a managerial position? Like this guy could never have people he was responsible for like at a workplace, right? Like there's no way. Like, can you imagine having to work for this guy? Like you would lose your goddamn mind, right? And there's no way DSP would ever be like a CEO or on a board of directors because he's so stupid. Right?
Things that you can actually clean stuff with. So I'm going to be using this to clean my new PCs, every couple months. I think what you do is you just...
Oh boy. And so this is a flavor of setup talk, is that DSP bought an electronic duster. And again, because nothing interesting ever happens in the guy's life, he has to like, he has to share it on screen. So like, this is just an extension of the setup because he bought another toy and he's now showing it off for content.
Okay, you can lower it too. It's like a jet engine.
He's so dented. He's so dumb.
Whoa.
Like this man has no self-awareness.
My PCs now have, on certain sides, they have removable filters. Like my gaming PC, you don't want to blow the air into your PC. Right?
All right, he's asking how you use it. I do not care.
You want to vacuum it, not blow? This is not a vacuum. Turn off the computer. Guys, I mean, I've had this gaming PC since August.
He's literally having people handhold him in chat on how to clean his PCs. Like this is something that literally you could watch a 2-minute YouTube video, not even a 30-second YouTube video, and you would have enough information to do the job correctly and not break your shit.
Okay, so it's probably due for a clean. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So I just turn it completely off, power it down, take the sides off, and then what?
Hand holding segment continues.
These attachments apparently are to influence.
Oh my God, we're still talking about it.
Hit 40, we want to lock into the DSP Tries It this Friday, and we want to start working towards doing this marathon.
And we're begging.
I really want to do a fun one for you. Let's get it going. All right. So we got a couple.
How much longer of this madness do we have?
All right, so
okay, we're coming real close.
So
real close to the end here.
You can't test Call of Duty. Well, then hopefully what I've told you about a lot helps you make your decision. It is a great value for it really is. But the question is, are you going to play all 4 of those modes or not? Someone took the dollar and said, listen to this. Rich did a 12-hour stream on New Year's Eve. Wait, Rich does not fucking have any kind of a life, does he? He sat there for 12 hours streaming on New Year's. Fuck, dude. What is your problem?
I just sneezed, but I have to address this comment the guy just made about Rich.
Anyone even care? 12 hours? Can you imagine watching that guy for 12 hours?
All right, so apologies for the dead air, but let's go back.
It really is, but the question is, are you going to play all 4 of those modes or not?
So the guy, what'd he say about Rich? He said,
someone took the dollar and said, listen to this. Rich did a 12-hour stream on New Year's Eve. Wait, Rich does not fucking have any kind of a life, does he?
Rich does not have any kind of a life. Yeah, this is coming from the guy who spends 6 days a week live streaming to 400 dents on the internet. Well, that's unkind. I should say it's probably closer to 20 dents on the internet, and the rest are LARPers and detractors. So, and 6 days a week full time, where he actually maybe does 4 hours of work a day, but he wastes approximately 10 hours a day, quote unquote, doing his job. This is the guy claiming that someone else who is legitimately more successful than him has no life.
And then people like his takes on the news or politics. Now we'll watch him train wreck. Hence why he had to start taking his shirt off and sucking cucumbers and cocks and joke. And now it's just at this point, You know, if he stopped,
I'm sure glad DSP never had any silly, embarrassing gimmicks to get money.
Not pertinent to anyone and get no views and have not be talked about and make no money. So maybe I think at this point, I think he's literally doing it to get that cheap, lowbrow attention from morons who think that it's like legit. I think that.
Oh, do we have a twirl in chat? Phil, I'm sorry to say this, but the mic is cutting out a ton.
Absolutely no fucking shame at all. Like zero shame. All right. So to him,
this guy claiming that people don't have shame is rich.
Like a complete waste of fucking time in life. What are you doing? To him, it's like, I acted like a jackass on stream for 12 hours and I made money today. But no one's laughing but him. That's what he doesn't understand. Like, he doesn't get it.
See, that's the thing, DSP is Rich is like he's curated an audience that genuinely finds him entertaining. Whether they're detractors or not, like people watch him because he is entertaining. And that's much less the case for you. You're just an idiot.
Keep in mind, again, we're still tweaking it. For the most part, I think it's all right. I'm sorry.
And that might be too charitable to Rich. I don't watch Rich's content, but I do know that he makes more money than DSP. Like, I'm pretty sure that people have found this out. Spicy Latina, too chubby, real in the kick chat.
Says, I think it was a one-off. I didn't hear.
Nice LARPer name.
Battletech says maybe because you're facing the webcam. I don't know. Listen, I haven't changed anything. Right? The only thing I did is I turned on the air gun. That's it. It cut out a bit when you said end. When I said at the end, the word end got cut off. Huh. I wonder. I don't know. Okay, we'll keep messing with it.
Another audio segment. Whoever. So that was a little too straightforward, I think, for a LARPer comment. But like, goal achieved. Like, you got him locked in on another audio segment, and now he's worried about his mic not behaving properly.
Have to be right in my mouth, in which case it's going to block the shot. It's going to block the background, right?
And we're talking about blocking the wonderful background again that he removes. He removes his background. So for like 80% of his content, it is not visible.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Wow. I received a $5 super chat. I was just about to end the show from Kudo. Says, Happy New Year, Phil. I can't believe it's been watching since Heavy Rain. That was 15 years ago.
The Heavy Rain. Yeah, I've been watching since Heavy Rain, Phil.
Kudo, you're the first super chatter of the day. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get that up on the leaderboard. Now, who's going to be the first member bomb gifter, and who's going to be the first sub gifter? We haven't had any subs or memberships yet today. Let's get some of those going and get the momentum rolling, shall we?
So this guy has spent like 2 hours, and he's gotten $20. Fantastic. Which is $20 too much, but.
I see the dollar tip. It started sounding weird and cutting off after you used the air. The high frequency noise has messed with the mic. Is it still doing it? Hold on.
All right, you shouldn't have tipped for that, but that's very funny. Like, that's a very funny comment. Excellent work.
To reset stuff. I also realized I had to restart the computer yesterday, and I didn't reopen the microphone app, and I don't know if that means the filters are running or not. I just reopened the microphone app right now, so maybe now new filters are running that weren't even on before. It's very possible. I forgot. Remember last night?
This guy's so clueless.
But that might have reset the filters, actually. That I had to reopen the microphone app. Well, I just did.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit.
All right. Skizzle it. Thank you so much. Skizzle becoming an ultra supporter here this morning. Appreciate that very, very much.
Skiznil it. Excellent.
Now, the thing is, I have no concept how much I keep out of each membership. I forget about this. Remember, I looked into it ages ago. The way it works on YouTube, the higher level membership, the more I keep. So if it's a standard membership, it's $4 and I keep 3. For a super membership,
and now we're getting an accounting segment because we have to figure out how much money DSP actually gets from the sub that you had, and then we can add not the value of the sub, but how much money DSP will get, like the not the gross value, but the net value to DSP of the sub. We can add that to the King's tax.
So thank you, Skizzle. Everyone who's getting a membership right now, please enjoy all the fun emotes. And thank you, Skizzle. I'm pretty sure the ultra membership counts for $15 right now. So we'll say I'm at $64 of support. Thank you, Skizzle, for all that support right there. Very much appreciated. Okay, let us end the show. I keep trying to end the show and more contributions come in. Thank you so much for a great first episode of the new year. Moving forward, this year will be a very positive, exciting one.
Just wanted to point out this name in the YouTube chat. Very funny stuff.
I hope to see you all on my very
Fucker Carlson.
Podcasting, talking wrestling, talking politics, and whatever else comes my way. Thank you for watching the Level 1 Podcast. Thank you for an amazing and awesome year. And I will see you.
Oh, we made it.
Tomorrow.
Thank God.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's get set up. And
all right.
when I say that, I am going to take a brief break to use.
So DSP is going to empty his bladder and do all that bullshit, which means I'm out. I've had enough fun for today. I've spent too much time doing this. So if you happen to watch this, I guess thanks for watching. I'm just kind of trying things out. I feel a lot better than when I did when I started doing this, but I have quite a pile of used Kleenex next to me. So we'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow, and maybe I'll try this again.